The assembly hall stretched further than any human structure ever built. Its walls glowed with strange light that came from creatures, not machines. 10,000 beings filled the massive chamber, each one different from the last. Some had wings. Others floated in bubbles of liquid. A few were just clouds of gas held together by force fields. At the center of it all stood Marcus Webb, the only human in sight. The platform beneath his feet hummed with energy. A cage of light surrounded him, though Marcus could not see any bars. He could feel them, though. They pressed against his skin like invisible walls, ready to crush him if he moved wrong. Above him, arranged in a circle that climbed toward the ceiling, sat the council. The beings who ruled the galaxy looked down at Marcus with expressions he could not read. Some had too many eyes. Others had none at all. The largest creature leaned forward. Its body rippled like water, and 6 eyes studied Marcus with cold intelligence. When it spoke, a machine translated its words into something Marcus could understand. Human representative, you stand accused of breaking galactic law 17 times. Your species ignored our orders. You rejected our invitations. You built weapons in places where weapons are forbidden. Marcus did not flinch. He simply smiled. The rippling creature seemed confused by this reaction. Its eyes blinked in sequence, one after another. Do you understand what will happen to your world? We can cut Earth off from the stars. Your people will never leave your solar system again. You will die alone in the darkness. I understand, Marcus said. His voice was calm, almost bored. I'm just wondering when you will understand. A wave of confusion passed through the chamber. Aliens turned to each other, their strange languages filling the air with sounds that hurt human ears. A massive creature that looked like a crab covered in armor slammed its claw down. The sound echoed like thunder. You dare threaten us? Your species just learned to travel between stars 30 years ago. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Learned? Marcus laughed. We didn't learn anything from you. We took it. That scout ship you sent to watch us. The one that was supposed to report back? It never did. We tore it apart and figured out how it worked. The silence that followed was complete. Not a single creature moved. Marcus reached into his coat. Every weapon in the chamber pointed at him instantly. Energy crackled in the air. But Marcus just pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Above the platform, a hologram appeared. It showed space, stars, and ships. Thousands upon thousands of human warships positioned throughout the galaxy. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens shouted in hundreds of languages. Some jumped from their seats. Others tried to access their computers, desperate to verify what they were seeing. That's impossible, the armored creature said, but its voice shook. We monitored your world. We watched your expansion. You have perhaps 200 vessels. Nothing more? You watched what we wanted you to watch, Marcus said. He gestured at the hologram, and it zoomed in to show human bases on asteroids. Hidden facilities inside gas giants, shipyards built in the shadows of dying stars. For 30 years, we let you think we were weak. Grateful, eager to join your little club. The rippling creature, the one that seemed to lead the council, finally found its voice. Why? Why hide your strength? We offered you friendship, knowledge, a place among the stars. 'Cause we know what you really wanted, Marcus said. The hologram changed, showing data streams, communication, intercepts, stolen files. You came to Earth for one reason. You needed something from us? Something you couldn't make yourselves. He turned to look directly at the council leader. Your civilization is dying. Has been dying for years. And you thought you could use us to save yourselves without telling us the truth.
More chaos.
More shouting. But Marcus kept talking, his voice cutting through the noise. There's a plague in your systems. In your computers, your networks, your artificial intelligence. It spreads through everything you've built. And it's killing you, world by world. The hologram showed council worlds going dark. Planets that stopped communicating. Space stations that fell silent. It showed the truth the council had tried to hide. Their great civilization was collapsing from within. 5 years ago, you started losing entire species. You told everyone they chose isolation. You said they wanted to leave the council. But that was a lie. They didn't leave. They died. Their technology failed, their infrastructure fell apart, and billions of beings perished while you scrambled to find a solution. Marcus walked toward the edge of his energy cage. The light pushed back against him, but he pressed forward until his face was inches from it. You found Earth and realized we were immune. Our computers didn't fail. Our networks didn't corrupt. You wanted to know why? So you came to us with promises of friendship. While planning to take what you needed, we would have helped you. The council leader protested. If you had simply asked, we would have shared our knowledge freely. Would you? Marcus asked. Then why did you lie about the plague? Why did you hide your real situation? Why did every one of your diplomatic ships carry hidden scanners designed to copy our technology without permission? No one answered. The evidence was right there in the hologram, clear for everyone to see. Marcus turned away from the council. He walked back to the center of his platform. We figured out your plan. We cracked your communications. We stole your secrets the same way you tried to steal ours. And we prepared for this moment. He looked up at the thousands of aliens staring down at him. You need us now, not the other way around. Your plague is accelerating. You're running out of time. And humanity. He smiled again, but there was no warmth in it. We're doing just fine. Marcus moved toward the exit. The energy cage flickered but did not stop him. Guards moved to block his path, but the council leader raised a limb, stopping them. It said, you cannot simply leave. We must discuss terms. We must negotiate. No, Marcus said. We really don't. Alarms suddenly screamed through the chamber. Red light flooded the space, washing over 10,000 terrified faces. An aide rushed to the council leader, speaking urgently in a language the translator could not keep up with. The council leader's 6 eyes went wide. When it spoke again, its voice was barely a whisper. 3 more worlds have gone dark. Core worlds. Worlds we thought were protected. The plague is spreading faster. Marcus reached the exit and stopped. He did not turn around. Like I said, you need us. We'll be in touch. Then he walked out, leaving the entire Galactic Council in chaos behind him. As Marcus moved through the corridors toward his ship, his communication device buzzed. A message appeared, encrypted and secure. It was from General Patricia Vance back on Earth. Marcus read it, and his smile vanished. They're mobilizing their defense fleets. Looks like they're going to try to take Earth by force. Proceed to Phase 3. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment. He had hoped it would not come to this. But humanity had prepared for every possibility. The real test was about to begin. 30 years earlier, Dr. Rebecca Torres stood in the desert and watched the sky split open. The ship that emerged was larger than any building she had ever seen. It descended slowly, gently, as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions. When it touched the ground, the Earth itself seemed to hold its breath. Rebecca was Earth's chief xenobiologist, chosen to be part of the first contact team. She had spent her entire life preparing for this moment. But nothing could have prepared her for what came next. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Council. They represented 10,000 species from across the galaxy. They came with promises of friendship, knowledge, and peace. Earth's leaders were overjoyed. Humanity would finally join the greater community of intelligent life. But Rebecca noticed things others did not. The council representatives spent weeks on Earth, touring facilities and meeting with world leaders. They said they wanted to learn about human culture. They asked about art, music, and literature. But Rebecca watched where they actually spent their time. They visited computer factories. They toured data centers. They asked endless questions about how human technology worked, how computers processed information, how networks were built and maintained. They showed little interest in Shakespeare or Mozart. They were fascinated by operating systems and processor architecture. Rebecca raised her concerns with the contact team leaders. Something feels wrong, she told them. They're not here to welcome us. They're studying us like laboratory specimens. The team leaders dismissed her worries. They said she was being paranoid. They said the council was simply thorough in their research. When Rebecca kept pushing, kept pointing out inconsistencies in the council's story, she was removed from the team. Her security clearance was revoked. Official reports labeled her a conspiracy theorist, but someone had been listening. General Patricia Vance ran Earth's military intelligence division. Unlike the politicians who were dazzled by alien promises, Vance was trained to look for threats, and Rebecca's observations matched what Vance's own teams were discovering. Every council ship that visited Earth carried sophisticated scanning equipment. The gifts they brought, the technology they shared, all contained hidden data collection systems. The council was not just observing humanity. They were stealing everything they could. Vance's teams worked in secret. They recorded ever. Why council transmission? They hacked into the alien computer systems. They stole data from diplomatic vessels. And slowly, piece by piece, they uncovered the truth. The council was dying. A plague was spreading through their networks, corrupting their systems and destroying their infrastructure. Entire worlds were going dark. Billions of beings were dying as their technology failed around them. The council had spent years searching for a solution, and then they found Earth. Human computer systems were different. Wildly different. While every council species had evolved similar technology, humanity had developed hundreds of competing systems. Different programming languages, different security protocols, different approaches to artificial intelligence. This chaos, this lack of standardization, made human systems immune to the plague. The council wanted to study humanity, to figure out what made their technology special, and then replicate it. But they had no intention of sharing the truth with Earth. They planned to establish Earth as a protectorate, a supervised territory where they could control human development and harvest whatever they needed. General Vance called a secret meeting of Earth's most powerful leaders. She showed them the evidence. She explained the threat. "They're going to exploit us," she said. "They'll take what they need, and they'll never let us be truly independent. We'll be subjects, not equals." The room was silent. Finally, someone asked the question everyone was thinking. "What do we do?" Vance looked at each of them in turn. "We pretend. We act grateful. We play the role of eager students. And while we do that, we prepare." Thus began the greatest deception in human history. Earth accepted the Council's offer of friendship. They signed treaties and trade agreements. They sent ambassadors to Council worlds and welcomed Council representatives to Earth. To the outside observer, humanity was enthusiastically joining galactic civilization. But in secret, everything was different. Human engineers tore apart every piece of Council technology they could access. They reverse-engineered faster-than-light drives. They stole weapons designs. They copied shield generators and power systems. Everything the Council had spent millennia developing, humanity learned in years. At the same time, Earth began expanding into space. Not openly, where the Council could see. They built shipyards inside asteroids. They established colonies in the outer solar system, in places the Council did not bother to monitor. They sent exploration vessels to distant star systems using routes the Council considered too dangerous or worthless, and they built weapons. Lots of weapons. The Council thought they were monitoring Earth's military. They saw the small fleet of human warships that patrolled the inner solar system. What they did not see were the thousands of vessels hidden throughout the galaxy, waiting for orders. Dr. Rebecca Torres was brought back from exile. Vance put her in charge of the Xenobiology Division, where she analyzed everything the Council said and did. Rebecca became an expert at spotting Council lies, at reading between the lines of diplomatic messages. One day, 15 years after first contact, Rebecca walked into Vance's office with a file. "I found something," she said. "The Council has been here before." The file contained ancient records, recovered from a Council database. It showed other species, other primitive civilizations that the Council had contacted. The pattern was always the same. The Council would arrive with promises of friendship. They would study the species, take what they needed, and then establish control. Sometimes the species realized what was happening. Those species always disappeared from the records shortly afterward. "They've done this dozens of times," Rebecca said. "We're not the first. We're just the first to figure it out before it was too late." Vance studied the records. Then she smiled, though it was a cold smile without joy. "Then we'll also be the first to turn the tables." For 30 years, Earth played its role perfectly. Human diplomats smiled and thanked the Council for their guidance. Human scientists eagerly accepted Council teaching while stealing every secret they could. Human leaders publicly spoke of integration while privately preparing for war. And through it all, the plague kept spreading. The Council grew desperate. More worlds went dark. Their infrastructure crumbled. They accelerated their plans for Earth, pushing for greater access to human technology, for more detailed scans of human computer systems. But they still would not admit the truth. They still would not ask for help honestly. That was their greatest mistake. By the time the Council realized Earth was not the weak, grateful species they thought, it was too late. Humanity had built an empire in the shadows. They had weapons the Council did not know existed. They had ships positioned throughout the galaxy. And they had absolute immunity to the plague that was destroying Council civilization, General Vance, now Supreme Commander of Earth's forces, stood in the command center and watched as Marcus Webb entered the Council chambers. This was the moment 30 years of preparation had built toward. This was when humanity would stop pretending. "He's in position," an aide reported. "The Council is demanding answers about our military expansion." Vance nodded. "Tell Marcus to proceed with the revelation." It's time they learned the truth. On screens around the command center, Vance watched as Marcus activated the hologram showing human military strength. She watched the Council react with shock and disbelief. She watched as 30 years of lies finally came crashing down. An analyst turned to her. "Commander, the Council is mobilizing. They're calling up defense fleets from 70 systems." Vance had expected this. The Council, cornered and desperate, would try to take by force what they could not take by deception. How long until they reach Earth? For days, at best speed. "Good," Vance said. "That gives us time to prepare the surprise." She looked at the screens again, watching Marcus walk out of the Council chamber. Phase 3 is now active. All units proceed to assigned positions. Round the galaxy, human forces began to move. Not to hide anymore, but to take their true places. The deception was over. The real test was about to begin. "Hi, Chancellor." Vrixes led the largest armada ever assembled. 50,000 warships representing 200 species filled the space around the Council's military staging area. The fleet stretched so far that it took light several seconds to travel from one end to the other. "This is excessive," one of the Council members had argued. "We should negotiate with the humans." But Vrixes had convinced the others. The plague was spreading too fast. They had perhaps months before Council civilization collapsed entirely. Earth had the cure, or at least the immunity that could lead to a cure. The Council needed it now, and humanity was refusing to cooperate. "They are children playing at war," Vrixes told the Council. "One show of force, and they will surrender. We take their technology, we save our civilization, and then we can discuss terms." The fleet jumped too faster than light travel. For days to Earth. For days to end this problem and secure the galaxy's future, when they emerged in the Sol system. Reality broke. Earth was gone. In its place was a structure so massive that Vrixes' mind struggled to comprehend it. Billions of platforms surrounded the sun, each one the size of a city. They formed a shell, capturing the star's light and converting it to power. A Dyson swarm, something the Council had only theorized about but never built. And on every platform, weapons pointed outward. "Sensors are detecting ships," the fleet's tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. "Millions of them. They're everywhere." The holographic display activated, showing the true scope of the human fleet. Not thousands of vessels. Not even hundreds of thousands. Millions. They emerged from behind asteroids. From within the gas giants, from stealth positions that Council sensors should have detected but somehow did not. Vrixes whispered. How is this possible? Aboard the human flagship Defiant, Commander Lisa Grant watched the Council fleet arrive. She sat in the captain's chair, calm and ready. She had trained her entire life for this moment. Council fleet is powering weapons, her tactical officer reported. They are preparing to fire. Let them, Grant said. Execute Protocol Prometheus. Cross the human fleet. A single command broadcast on encrypted channels. Not to human ships. To Council ships. For 30 years, every Council vessel that visited Earth had received gifts. Translation software to help them communicate with humans. Entertainment systems loaded with human movies and music. Advanced artificial intelligence assistants to help with routine tasks. The Council had eagerly installed these systems, grateful for human generosity. They never suspected the truth. Every gift contained hidden code. Every system had a backdoor. Every piece of human technology integrated into Council ships carried a Trojan horse. Waiting for activation, Grant watched her screens as the trap sprung. 15,000 Council ships went dark instantly. Their power systems shut down. Their weapons fell silent. Their engines stopped responding. In seconds, 30% of the enemy fleet became lifeless hulks drifting in space. The remaining ships tried to fight. Their weapons would not fire. Targeting systems failed. Navigation computers showed false data. Communication networks crashed under the weight of human override codes. The Council flagship is broadcasting, Grant's communication officer said. They're asking what's happening. Grant smiled. Show them. On every Council ship that still had functional displays, a mess. Age appeared. It showed the source code of the systems they had installed. It showed the hidden commands, the override protocols, the complete infiltration of their technology. It showed them exactly how humanity had turned their own fleet into a weapon against them. Possible, Vrixes said, staring at the message on his screen. Our security systems would have detected this. Our best programmers checked every line of code. They checked what we wanted them to check, a human voice said over the communication channel. It was Commander Grant, her face appearing on every Council screen. For 30 years, you treated us like children. You thought we were too primitive to deceive you? That was your first mistake. Vrixes looked at his tactical display. His fleet was paralyzed. The human warships had not fired a single shot, yet the battle was already over. Second mistake, Grant continued, was assuming all technology evolves the same way. Your species built systems based on unity, standardization, and efficiency. Every Council race uses similar computing architecture. It makes cooperation easier. It also makes you vulnerable. The holographic display in Vrixes' command center activated without permission. It showed human computer systems, chaotic and diverse. Hundreds of different programming languages. Thousands of competing security protocols. No two human systems were exactly alike. We built our technology through competition and conflict, Grant said. Every company wanted to be different, better, unique. It made our systems messy and complicated, but it also made them impossible to infiltrate universally. To hack humanity, you would need to crack thousands of different systems. To hack the Council, we only needed to understand one. Vrixes' claws tightened on his command throne. What do you want? Name your price. We can negotiate, no, Grant said simply. We're done negotiating. You came to take what you wanted by force. Now you'll learn the cost of that decision. Vrixes prepared to offer surrender, to promise anything if the humans would just let his people live. But then alarm screamed throughout his ship. Internal systems failing, his engineer reported. The plague. It's in our fleet computers. The human override codes, they open pathways that the plague can exploit. On the tactical display, Vrixes watched as his own ships began to tear themselves apart. Not from human weapons. From the plague that had haunted the Council for years, the same plague they had come to Earth to escape. You're killing us? Vrixes said, horror in his voice. No, Grant replied. You're killing yourselves. The plague has been in your systems for years. You just managed to slow it down by isolating infected networks. When we took control of your ships, We connected systems you had kept separated. The plague spread through your fleet in seconds. On screens throughout the human fleet, Earth's crews watched as council ships exploded from internal failures. Power cores overloaded. Life support systems crashed. Weapons fired randomly, hitting their own allies. Stand down, Vrixie's broadcast to the entire council fleet. All ships. Emergency protocols. Separate all networks. Shut down non-essential systems. It was too late. The plague was too fast, too aggressive. It had been waiting for this moment, for the Council's desperate attempt to save themselves. And humanity had given it the perfect opening. Grant watched the Council fleet destroy itself. Part of her felt sympathy. These were living beings dying in front of her. But another part, the part that had studied 30 years of Council deception, felt only cold satisfaction. Incoming transmission from High Chancellor Vrixes, her communication officer said. He's offering unconditional surrender. Grant was about to accept when a new message arrived from Earth. She read it, and her expression hardened. Denied, she said. Tell the High Chancellor we're not accepting his surrender, Commander. Her second officer looked shocked. Oh, he won. The battle is over. The battle, yes, Grant said. But not the war. Not yet. They need to understand the full scope of what they've done. She opened a channel to Vrixes. High Chancellor, your surrender is rejected. Hold your position. Watch your fleet die. Think about every species you've exploited over the millennia. Think about every civilization you've destroyed when they wouldn't cooperate. And understand that humanity will not be another victim in your history. On Vrixes' screen, Grant's face was calm, but absolutely ruthless. When you're ready to truly negotiate as equals, when you're ready to dismantle your empire and free every species you've controlled, then we'll talk. Until then, you can watch your civilization burn. The transmission ended. Vrixes sat in his command throne, surrounded by dying ships and the screams of billions. His 6 eyes watched as everything his people had built over 10,000 years collapsed in a single day. And in the back of his mind, a terrible thought emerged. The humans were not bluffing. They were not negotiating. They were teaching the Council what it meant to face consequences. For the first time in his long life, High Chancellor Vrixes understood true fear. Dr. James Park stood before the holographic display in Earth's primary research facility. Around him, the human command staff watched as he prepared to explain what his team had discovered. Marcus Webb was there, having returned from the council chambers. General Vance stood at the back of the room, her face unreadable. The plague is not an accident, James began. It's a weapon. And it was designed by beings who left our galaxy millions of years ago. He activated the display. Images appeared, showing ruins found in the deepest parts of space. Structures that defied physics. Technology that made council science look primitive. Call them the architects, James continued. We don't know what they looked like or where they went. But we know they were testing us. Testing everyone. Display changed, showing complex mathematical formulas. The plague is embedded in the fundamental mathematics of quantum computing. Any civilization that reaches a certain level of technological sophistication will trigger it. The Council triggered it 5 years ago when they upgraded their primary communication networks. One of the admirals raised a hand. Why didn't it affect us? Because we're chaotic, James said with a slight smile. The plague is designed to spread through standardized systems. It looks for patterns, for uniformity. The Council built their entire civilization on interconnection and standardization. Every species uses similar technology. Every world is connected to the same networks. When the plague activated, it had a perfect highway to travel. He gestured, and the display showed human technology. We developed differently. Earth never unified under one system. We have hundreds of programming languages, thousands of security protocols, millions of incompatible devices. The plague can't spread through chaos. It needs order. Marcus leaned forward. So we survived by being disorganized? We survived by being diverse, James corrected. The architects designed this as a test. Can a civilization embrace difference and still advance? Or will they choose efficiency and uniformity over everything else? The display showed council records, ancient documents that humanity had stolen over the years. The council found hints of this test thousands of years ago. They discovered ruins, found warnings, even learned about a facility where the plague could be shut down. But they were too afraid to act. A new image appeared. Deep space, darker than anything else in the galaxy. The void reaches. The council declared this region forbidden 5,000 years ago. Ships that enter don't return. Reality becomes unstable. Physics stops working correctly. The council lost dozens of expeditions trying to explore it, so they finally just quarantined the entire area. Vance stepped forward. Tell them about the Odyssey. James nodded. 5 years ago, we sent a research vessel into the void reaches. The ship was called Odyssey, commanded by Captain Rita Okonkwo. It was a suicide mission. We expected them to die. The room went silent, but they didn't, James said. They found the architect facility, and they brought back the cure. The display showed a sleek ship emerging from darkness. Behind it, impossible structures twisted through space, buildings that existed in more dimensions than human eyes could perceive. Captain Okonkwo's report is difficult to read, James admitted. The void reaches affect human minds as much as they affect technology. Half her crew went insane. 3 committed suicide. But the survivors pushed forward because they understood what was at stake. He showed images from inside the architect facility. Vast chambers filled with technology that seemed more alive than mechanical. Walls covered in symbols that hurt to look at. And at the center, a sphere of pure darkness that somehow generated light. The cure is simple, James said. It's a shutdown code. Once broadcast, it deactivates the plague across the entire galaxy. But accessing it required solving puzzles the architects left behind. Puzzles designed to test intelligence, creativity, and most importantly, cooperation. Marcus watched the images of human and alien crew members working together inside the facility. Captain Okonkwo had taken volunteers from Earth's secret alien refugee program. Beings who had fled council control and sought sanctuary with humanity. A human crew alone could not have solved the puzzles, James explained. Neither could an alien crew. It required both, working together, combining different ways of thinking. That was the point. The architects wanted to see if different species could truly cooperate as equals. The display showed the moment the shutdown code was retrieved. A small crystal, glowing with inner light, held in Captain Okonkwo's hands. But the Odyssey crew found something else, James said, his voice growing darker. A second message from the architects. A warning. The display changed, showing text translated from architect symbols. The room grew cold as people read it. The plague is only the first test, James read aloud. If a civilization destroys itself completely, if it falls to infighting and cannot unite even in the face of extinction, then a second phase activates. A cleansing protocol that will sterilize the galaxy of all advanced life. Silence filled the room. The architects believed that any civilization too rigid to adapt, too proud to accept help, or too divided to cooperate was too dangerous to be trusted with galactic-level technology, James continued. The plague sorts civilizations. Those who pass get to survive. Those who fail are eliminated before they can threaten others. Vance spoke up. How close are we to the second phase? Unknown, James admitted. But based on the rate of council collapse, we estimate less than 3 months. If we let the council destroy itself completely, if we stand by and do nothing, the architect's final judgment will activate, and it won't distinguish between council species and humanity. It will kill everything. Ka stood up, so we have to save them. Even after everything they've done,
Yes,
James said, but we can dictate the terms. The architects gave us the power to stop the plague. That means we hold all the leverage. The display showed the crystal containing the shutdown code. We can broadcast this cure across the galaxy. We can save billions of lives. But we can also choose who receives it and when. One of the admirals looked uncomfortable. That's playing God. No, Vaughn said firmly. That's exercising the power we earn by being better than the council. We passed the architect's test. We survived through diversity, creativity, and the courage to venture into places others feared. We deserve to decide what comes next. Marcus walked to the display and studied the images of the architect facility. What happened to Captain Okonkwo and her crew? James's expression grew sad. Most of them recovered. Some never did. The void reaches change people. Okonkwo herself refuses to talk about what she saw in there. She just handed over the crystal and resigned her commission. Last I heard, she's living alone in the mountains, trying to forget. She saved the galaxy, Marcus said quietly. She saved us the option to save the galaxy, James corrected. Now we have to decide if the Council deserves that salvation. Marcus turned to face the room. I'm returning to the Council chambers with this information. I'm going to offer them the cure on our terms. The Council must dissolve. Their centralized power structure must end. The galaxy reorganizes as a true federation of independent species. No more empire. No more exploitation. They'll never agree, an admiral said. Then they'll die, Marcus replied without hesitation. And we'll save the species who are willing to accept our help. Avance nodded approval. The Council's fleet is already crippled. Their civilization is hours from total collapse. This is our moment to reshape the galaxy. We won't get another chance. Marcus prepared to leave. What about the second phase? The cleansing protocol? James checked his data. As long as some advanced civilizations survive and the cure is deployed, the protocol won't activate. The architects don't want to destroy all life. They just want to prevent dangerous civilizations from threatening the galaxy. If we save enough species, if we build something better than the Council, we should be safe, should be Marcus repeated. Not very reassuring. We're operating with ancient alien technology and incomplete information, James said. Nothing about this situation is reassuring, but it's what we have. Marcus headed for the door, then stopped. Send Captain Okonkwo a message. Tell her what we're about to do. Tell her that her sacrifice mattered. I will, James promised. As Marcus left to return to the Council chambers, Vance walked to the display and studied the images of the architect facility. Do you think they're still watching us? She asked James. The architects. James considered the question. I don't know. But if they are, I hope they're satisfied with what they see. Humanity didn't just survive their test. We're about to reshape galactic civilization, or destroy it, Vance said quietly. That too, James agreed. That too. The Council chamber had never been so silent. Where there were once 10,000 representatives, now only a few hundred remained. The others had fled to their homeworlds, desperate to save their people from the spreading plague. The remaining Council members looked at Marcus. Webb with expressions mixing hope and hatred, War Master Grell of the Cathari stood suddenly, his massive form towering over the others. His armor was scarred from battle, his claws stained with the blood of countless enemies. Enough of this human's arrogance, Grell growled. We still have weapons. We still have strength. Before anyone could react, Grell's soldiers surrounded Marcus. Energy weapons pressed against the human's head and chest. The other Council members shouted in protest, but Grell's voice cut through the noise. You will give us the cure now, Grell demanded. No conditions. No negotiations. Or you will die here, and we will take what we need from your corpse. Marcus looked at the weapons pointed at him. He looked at Grell's furious face, and then he smiled. You still don't understand what you're dealing with. I understand you bleed like any other being, Grell said. Outside the Council chambers, aboard the Defiant, Commander Grant watched the situation unfold. Her hand hovered over the command console. Ma'am, her tactical officer said, the ambassador is in danger. I know, Grant said calmly. She had received her orders from Earth minutes ago. The message was simple and brutal. Proceed with final protocol. Save those who can be saved. Let the rest fall. Grant opened a broadcast channel. Not just to the Council chamber. To every inhabited world in the galaxy. To every ship. Every space station. Every being capable of receiving a signal. This is Commander Lisa Grant of Earth's Defense Fleet. We hold the cure to the plague killing your civilizations. We are broadcasting the shutdown code now, but only to those who declare independence from the Galactic Council immediately. The transmission carried the architect's shutdown code, but encrypted. To decrypt it, governments had to send a message agreeing to 3 terms: recognition of Earth as a sovereign power, dissolution of council authority over their worlds, and commitment to a new federation of equal species in the council chamber. Grell watched as his communication device lit up with incoming messages. His officers, his generals, even his own family, were begging him to accept humanity's terms. The Cathari homeworld was dying. Their planetary defense systems had failed. Their people had ours, maybe less. "This is blackmail," Grell said, but his voice shook. "This is consequence," Marcus replied. "For 30 years, you planned to exploit us. You lied to us. You tried to make us subjects. Now you're learning what it costs to treat other intelligent beings as resources." High Chancellor Vrixes, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. "War Master Grell, stand down. The human is right. We brought this upon ourselves," Never Grell snarled. He tightened his grip on his weapon. "I would rather die than submit to these primitive creatures." "Then die," Marcus said quietly. "But don't take your entire species with you." For a long moment, Grell stood frozen. Then his communication device buzzed again. This time it was a video message from his homeworld. His mate, his children, begging him to save them, telling him they loved him, saying goodbye because they knew he would choose pride over their lives. Grell's claw trembled. The weapon lowered slightly. "It's not weakness to admit you were wrong," Marcus said. "It's wisdom. Something the Council lost a long time ago." Around the galaxy, the responses came in. Small species, ones who had always been marginalized by Council politics, accepted immediately. Their systems began recovering within minutes as the shutdown code deactivated the plague. Billions of beings suddenly had hope again. But the core worlds, the founding Council species who had ruled for 10,000 years, refused. They believed humanity would surrender, that no species would truly let entire civilizations die. They were wrong. Grant watched her screens as the core worlds continued collapsing. She ordered human ships to begin evacuation operations, but only for those who wanted to leave. Massive refugee fleets formed as billions abandoned their governments, seeking sanctuary with the humans who had been judged as primitives just days before in the council chamber. Grell's officers turned on him. "Stand down, War Master," one of them said. "Our people are dying. Accept the human terms." "I will not bow to inferiors," Grell said. "Then you'll die alone," the officer replied. He sent the acceptance message himself, agreeing to all of humanity's conditions. Within seconds, the encryption key arrived, and the cure spread through Cathari systems. Grell roared in fury.
Ow.
But his own soldiers restrained him. The coup lasted less than a minute. When it was over, Grell sat defeated on the floor. His empire of pride collapsed around him. High Chancellor Vrixes approached Marcus. "Please," he said, all 6 eyes focused on the human. "Extend the cure to all Council species. I'm begging you." Marcus shook his head. "We gave everyone the choice. We offered the CU. With one simple condition. Acknowledge that no species has the right to rule over others. Some accepted, some refused. We're not going to force salvation on those who choose pride over survival. But billions will die," Vrixes said. "Billions chose to die," Marcus corrected. "Their governments chose pride. We're saving everyone who wants to be saved. The others?" He gestured at the holographic display showing worlds going dark. They made their decision. Vrixes' membrane rippled with emotion humanity could not read. "You're monsters." "No," Marcus said firmly. "We're survivors. We're the species you tried to exploit, and we're showing you that actions have consequences. You wanted to use us, to take from us, to make us subjects in your empire. Now you understand that we won't be anyone's victims." Marcus walked toward the exit. Behind him, the remaining council members argued and pleaded. Some accepted humanity's terms. Others refused, even as their worlds burned. The Great Galactic Council was fracturing, breaking into hundreds of independent nations. As Marcus reached his ship, he paused and looked back at the chaos. Part of him felt the weight of billions dying. But another part remembered 30 years of lies, of exploitation, of plans to subjugate humanity. We gave them a choice, he said to himself. That's more than they ever planned to give us. Days later, Marcus stood aboard the Defiant as it orbited Earth. The Dyson swarm still surrounded the sun. But now it served as a beacon. Thousands of ships from newly independent species gathered, bearing gifts and requesting alliance. Species who chose freedom over the Council's security. Commander Grant approached Marcus. The final count is in. We saved 4,300 species who accepted our terms. 2,100 refused and are now extinct or near extinction. The remainder are still deciding. Marcus closed his eyes. Over 2,000 species gone. 2,000 species who chose pride over life, Grant said. We gave them the option. We gave them more than they ever planned to give us. Does that make it right? Grant was quiet for a moment. I don't know, but I know we couldn't save people who refused to be saved. And I know that if we'd given in, if we'd provided the cure with no conditions, the Council would have rebuilt their empire. They would have gone right back to exploiting others. At least now, the galaxy has a chance to build something better.
Ow.
Marcus nodded slowly. Vance wants me to address the new assembly. The species who accepted our terms want to form a federation. They want Earth to lead it. Will you? I'll speak to them, Marcus said. But I'm going to make something very clear. We're not interested in ruling anyone. We'll be equals, or we'll be nothing. Grant smiled. That's going to confuse them. The Council always led, always controlled. Then they'll learn a new way, Marcus said. Or they're free to leave. 2 weeks later, Marcus stood before the first interstellar assembly. Representatives from thousands of species filled the chamber, this time meeting as equals rather than as subjects to the Council. There were no judgment platforms, no supreme benches, just a circle of delegates all at the same level. Marcus reviewed his speech one final time. The words were simple, but carried the weight of everything humanity had learned. He walked to the center of the circle. Every eye, every sensor, every consciousness focused on him. We're asked to beg for our place among you, Marcus began. His voice was calm, steady, and absolutely confident. We were supposed to be grateful subjects, eager students learning from superior civilizations. The Council wanted us to bow, to submit, to accept their authority without question. He looked around at the assembled beings. Instead, we fought. We learned, we adapted, and we survived. Not because we were stronger, but because we refused to accept that any species has the right to rule over another. The chamber was silent. So here's what we offer you. Not demands. Not conditions. Just an offer. Join us in building something new. A true federation where every species has equal voice. Where strength comes from diversity, not uniformity. Where no one civilization holds power over the rest. Marcus paused, letting his words sink in. If you're interested, you're welcome. If not, you're free to go. We won't force anyone to join. We won't threaten or coerce. We're simply offering you a place among equals. He turned to leave, then stopped. The Council failed because they believed might made right. Because they thought control was the same as leadership. Because they never learned that trust cannot be taken, only given. We won't make those mistakes. We'll build something better, or we won't build anything at all. Marcus walked away from the center, returning to his seat among the other delegates. Not above them. Not separate. Equal. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species immediately pledged to join. Others held back, uncertain. A few left, preferring isolation to cooperation. But slowly, steadily, a new order began to form. Not perfect, not without conflict, but built on a foundation the Council never had. Genuine equality and mutual respect. As the assembly continued, Commander Grant sent a message to Marcus's personal device. Captain Okonkwo sends her regards. She says what we've built would make the architects proud. Marcus smiled and looked up at the chamber's ceiling, transparent to show the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, in the darkness between galaxies, the architects might be watching. They had set a test millions of years ago. It's designed to sort civilizations by their ability to embrace diversity and cooperation. Humanity had not just passed that test. They had used it to reshape the galaxy. The story of the Galactic Council was over. The story of what came next was just beginning.